I'm very annoyed. He didn't even speak to me about it. We had so many discussions about moving in together, getting married, and then he goes and purchases a truck $2,000 more than his yearly salary. If you're asking how a truck can be $87,000, that's the price you get when you put every addition you want on it. He showed me the truck expecting me to be excited, and I was livid. When he bought this truck, we were only a month from moving in together. We got into a bad argument where he told me it was his money and he could do whatever he wanted with it. So I said fine, and I told him I'm not comfortable moving in with him anymore. I asked my landlord if my apartment was still available and if I could renew my lease, and they said yes. Now my boyfriend is saying he can't afford his place and his truck. I don't feel bad. You should have thought of that before buying something so expensive without talking to your girlfriend of 2 years. I have had some of his friends GF reach out to me and say I should support him, and one even says that I'm not loyal, and this shows I wouldn't support him if we were married since I run away when finances get bad. That's crap. He didn't lose his job or get hurt. He bought an expensive item without discussing it. I have been trying to get him to return the truck because it's already affecting his finances badly. He has only had this truck for 2 weeks, and he is worried that in the next month or two, he won't be able to cover all the expenses he usually has. This past weekend, we had another argument, and I think our relationship is going to end. I'm not helping him pay for this truck, and I'm not moving in with him. I have asked for a break, and will be thinking about what to do. I appreciate the different opinions everyone has given me. I have a lot to think about. To answer 2 questions, no, he doesn't need the truck. He works from home, and if he has to check in at work, he has an office. Also, his friends and their girlfriends know about this issue because he asked for their views when we went to a get-together last week. Only 2 GFS reached out to me to tell me I wasn't being supportive. The others have minded their business. Somebody left comments, "Good job recognizing a bad situation when you see one." This dude fully expected you to supplement his lifestyle after moving in together. All his money would have gone to paying that truck, leaving you stuck with the lion's share of the bills. And that's why he's panicking now. Stay in your own apartment. Yeah, no. You were right to put yourself first. He's gonna end up drowning in debt. At least you won't be there to see it. Would imagine he thought he could make you take the majority of rent and household expenses while he just put money in his truck. The minute he was expecting you to help finance his life, it ceased to be his money. You absolutely did the right thing. That man was going to use you to pay for his expensive ass truck. Ask your friends' girlfriends if they want to give up their life to finance his mistakes, because you sure as hell won't, and shouldn't. It'll only get worse if you enable him. He'd be coming home with a Ferrari next. Original poster shared an update with the title. I broke up with my ex, who got the $87,000 truck, which I found out was actually $95,000. Yeah, so I broke up with him mainly because I realized we are not financially compatible. Before I go into what happened, I do want to say something. I understand we were not married, but we were both moving together into a new place and had several discussions about this move and our plans for the future, including marriage. For the people privately messaging me saying it's his money and he can do whatever he wants, or you're only 2 years into a relationship, you're not a wife. I know that, and I have never asked what is in his bank account or told him what to do financially. I'm aware it is his money, but I also know his financial situation. And he was making decisions without my input. That if we were to stay together would not only affect him, but also our relationship and our financial situation for years to come. I will die on this hill. This is not okay. And if it's okay for you, that's fine. But for me, if we make a financial plan and you make a huge decision without me, I won't be okay with it. And that's a big reason why I backed out of moving into a new apartment with him. I would have never made a decision like this without his input at all. The main reason why we decided to move in together was to take the next step in our relationship, but also to pay down our debts. I now have $22,000 debt from student loans and a car. When I met him though, it was around $60,000, and I was basically living on credit cards. Within the first couple of months of us dating, I saw how hard he worked, and with a salary of $85,000, He was making huge progress in paying off his loans and credit cards. On my end, at the time, I was only making $50,000. I honestly saw his work ethic and was like, wow, and got serious about my debt. I got a second part-time job where I was making $32,000 a year, bringing my salary to $82,000. I did that so that I could pay off my debts faster, but also so that we could be on equal footing when we moved in together, and he didn't have to pay significantly more in living expenses than me when he had more debt. We did a complete budget months before we moved in together and realized that we would each have $700 extra a month to put towards our own individual budgets. This is why the purchase of this truck was so surprising to me. We had planned this move for months. We had a budget, and he destroyed that plan with the truck. If he wanted a new car, there are plenty of cars he could have gotten that would have fit into the $700 monthly surplus he had. Anyway, for the past few days before we broke up, he tried to show me that this truck was a good financial purchase and we could still move in together. He told me that he had actually budgeted for this and could show me how he could afford this. I wanted to hear him out, so I went to his place and he had 2 budgets. He said he had been thinking of getting this truck for some time and he had worked out a budget beforehand. He showed me the first budget, and after his truck, insurance, expenses, and his debts, he was left with $115 for the month. I noticed with the first budget, he didn't include groceries, his hobbies, going out, or even gas for his car. I asked him how $115 was enough to live off of for an entire month. I asked him how he could afford all of this and his truck, and if he planned to give up some things. He said no, he didn't plan to give up anything and that he could make everything work in his budget. I asked him what if he had an emergency or needed gas for his truck, and he just kept saying he would work it out without explaining how. After I saw the first budget, I asked to see the documents for the car, and that's how I found out the truck price was $95,000 total after taxes, registration, and fees. He traded in his reliable 2003 Toyota and all his savings to get a loan at 14% for 72 months. His monthly payment is now $1,166, and insurance is $573. He also still has student loans, which are significant. I kept telling him $115 left over monthly wasn't enough. That's when he showed me his second budget, which had a combined higher monthly income. I asked him if he was getting a second job, and he said, due to his first job relying on him to be on call, he couldn't. I asked where the income was coming from, and this man said, well, you're getting a raise soon. I froze because I had mentioned this raise once months ago. My first job is my career job, and I work in a field where when you hit certain milestones, you get a pay bump. In September, if my raise is approved, I will go from $50,000 to $80,000. And with my second job, my total yearly income will be $112,000. But getting the raise isn't a guarantee. You have to meet certain criteria, and if you don't, you have to wait 3 months before trying again. When he said that, I was quiet, and then I said, so you planned a budget that included additional income that I wouldn't get for at least 6 months, an income that I might not even get in September. He said when I got my raise, the ratio of what he would pay would decrease, and he would have more disposable income. I asked him why it was okay for him to plan budgets with my income, but yet I had no say in how he spent his. He couldn't answer that. I told him I had no issue with paying more bills if I got a raise, but the fact that he banked on that, did not discuss it, and now expects me to be okay with this is ridiculous. I also said there's no way I wouldn't be paying more with the first budget because he wouldn't have been able to survive on $115. I told him he didn't communicate, and this is on him because he made huge financial plans without discussing anything. Finally, I told him I would never have done any of this without going to him first because I thought we were a team that was building something. I ended things the next day, and he has been trying to reach out, but I'm not interested. He has financially crippled himself with this truck. If with my income now, he could barely make it, he sure isn't making it on his own. I really hope that things work out for him and he is able to keep his truck and recover, but I'm not paying the consequences for such a massive financial mistake that is going to hugely affect him for years to come. If I were to stay, this financial decision affects me as well, and would continue to affect both of us for years. Again, this is different from becoming ill or losing a job. He chose this and refuses to budge and fix it. I now realize we are not financially compatible, and that's okay, and I wish him the best. Relevant comment. I have to ask, how are you handling this with so much grace? I would be pissed if my ex, who I was so emotionally invested in, pulled this on me. It's not just that he made an irresponsible decision. It's the fact that he thought he could leech off you and your money to pay for it, and somehow blindside you to get away with that. You don't badmouth him a single time, and did the right thing, immediately break up, and have already accepted that you both are incompatible. I'm in awe of how decisive and yet non-aggressive you were. I wish I could be that way. Original poster replied, to answer your question about why I'm not bad-mouthing him, it's because I'm sad. I'm sad about what he did to himself, and that I had to leave because he isn't seeing how bad this is. I'm sad that just a few months ago, I was planning us living together and a life, and now that's gone. Most of all, I'm sad for him. He was doing so well, and he rubbed off on me immensely in terms of paying off debt and watching your spending. I'm sad that he threw away all his hard work. Dumping on him even more isn't worth it, because when he realizes this mistake, it will be so bad for him. I don't see a point to do it, but I'm not judging anyone who would in these circumstances. Update. Hi everyone. So I posted a few months about a situation I was dealing with my ex, and him buying a car without telling me. I really doubted myself when I first made my first post because I had received such strong negative reactions from other people about me wanting to back out of the move. I appreciate the comments I got, not only on the posts, but through the messages as well. It really helped solidify, for me, that these feelings I had about the situation shouldn't be ignored. So thank you guys for responding, because it saved me financially. Looking back at the situation now, months later, I can see that I was being set up to be financially abused. When I broke up with my ex, I thought that we were financially incompatible and that unfortunately it took this large purchase to see it. But I can see now, that's not the case. My ex made a plan in his head, and what made sense to him was for me to pay most of the expenses, and he thought this was okay and that I should be okay with it too. Even though I can see the reality of what he was trying to do, I can't hate my ex because he helped start me on this path of looking at my finances. I remember when we first started dating and I went to pay for an item I was getting and my card declined, and without batting an eye, even though it was a little embarrassing, I took out another card and paid. I was used to this happening every once in a while because I was literally living paycheck up to paycheck. I'm not putting down anyone where that's the case. But in my situation then, I was living way above my means. I would justify every single want and get it, and I thought because I was making minimum payments and on time, I wasn't as bad as the next person. When the situation with my card happened, after we got back to my ex's car, he kindly asked if this type of thing happens all the time, and I told him sometimes, and he basically gave me advice. He did not try to force me to stop spending. He asked me to track my purchases and recommended a few apps. The first 2 months that we were seeing each other, he would encourage me every other day or every once in a while to just track what I spent, to shop like I usually did, but to track everything. Being able to see how much I was spending, especially when I broke it down into categories, was astounding. There was 1 month I spent $68 on bagels. It wasn't for work. It wasn't for other people. It was me stopping at a bagel place every morning and getting a bagel. I would sometimes get variations, which is why the bagels cost so much. Once I realized how much I was spending on stupid things, my ex helped me make a plan that would work for me, and that plan has continued to consistently work. I have added to it and changed things or tweaked things as my financial status has continued to improve, and so far, so good. This is why I don't have any bad feelings about my ex. He never pushed for me to pay my bills in front of him. He never saw credit card statements on apps, nothing. He only kept encouraging me to look at my finances and fix them. He helped give me the foundation to start to manage my finances, and I thought in my head that we were on the same page. And because he was such a stickler for finances and he was so frugal, that is why this truck purchase was such a surprise to me. It was unplanned, not discussed, was a large amount of money, and just knowing the general view of how much debt he had, I know without a doubt that there was no way he could afford this truck. I'm not trying to paint my ex as a saint. I am explaining why he had such a positive impact on me financially. So when the truck purchase happened and he refused to budge, I honestly was shocked, and seeing how bad this situation was, I had to walk away. It's been about 6 months since everything's happened, and I'm doing very well. I recently paid off my student loans last month. I now only have my car left, so a few grand left to pay. I also have a small savings. Because of that, I have changed the focus, and I'm putting the majority of my income now towards my car. I'm not rich by any means, but I'm definitely living within my means, and I'm okay with that. The last 2 things I am updating on are my raise and my ex's truck. I had a few people message me about the raise, and unfortunately I did not get it due to a big mistake I made on a project. Once I realized the mistake, I knew that it would jeopardize things for my raise because I had made the mistake so close to my evaluation and I didn't get the raise. But I fixed the mistake, and when I get re-evaluated after 3 months, I am hopeful I will get it this time. Losing the possibility of the raise made me realize even more that I had made the right decision, because I would be so screwed right now if I hadn't ended my relationship. With my ex, we have spoken once, and that is when we broke up. I cut communication completely because he was still trying to fix things without addressing the truck and the fact that he was keeping it. I know from a person close to him that actually 4 months after we broke up, he did a voluntary repossession. I also know the truck is gone because he deleted all the pictures he had of it. I was actually relieved to hear that for him because he can hopefully start to fix the situation he got himself in. I really do want the best for my ex, and I don't know the thought process that led to him getting this truck or what could have influenced him, but hopefully he can get back to where he was and make more improvements. The relationship is finished, and there is no hope of rekindling anything. Even though he returned the truck, I could never go back to him because the trust is gone. It wasn't only the money. It was also him making such a vital decision without me, expecting me to go along with it, and then vilifying me when I had viable concerns. I can't move past that. Yes, money isn't everything, but I can't stop thinking about what my life would be like now had I stayed. My student loans would not be paid off. We would both be broke. We would both be in worse off financial positions. All of these things would have affected the relationship negatively, which would have made it unhealthy. I'm glad we broke up, and I have forgiven him for what he tried to do to me. I stand and I will continue to stand by the view that finances are a breakable offense, especially when your partner isn't listening to you and does something that will affect both of you. If you don't agree, that's fine, but these last few months have proved that to me. So that's my longish update, and again, I really want to say thank you guys for responding to my first post. I honestly was leaning towards staying with him and not moving in, and I think in the long run, I would have been financially devastated and taken advantage of right now. And because of the different opinions I read, it made me realize how bad not only the situation was, but also how bad it could get. So thanks. A very, 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 very small, humble brag. I posted my paid-in-full student loan email on my profile, so if you want to see that, you can click that post, but you don't have to. Sorry, I'm just so proud of that fact. Okay, bye.